Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Oscar, aka Dopey. How are you today?
I'm doing very well on this fine Sunday morning. Lots of things to talk about. Ready to get into it.
Ready to get into it? Well, that's great to hear. Obviously, my personal world of sport, no one really cares about my feelings or anything, but it hasn't been great this weekend, as you can probably tell by my tone. But look, it is what it is, and hopefully next week will be better. Is there a certain sport you'd like to sort of kick us off with?
We can start in the world of basketball, the NBA. Obviously, the regular season is about to wrap up. I think there's a week or 2 weeks left, something like that, before we get into the playoffs, the business end of the season, what everyone's looking forward to at this point. So we've sort of got a good understanding of who the main playoff teams are going to be. Yep. There's obviously a few battles still going on for seeding and play-in position and that sort of thing. But I think we're going to do a sort of early breakdown of how we think the teams are going to match up, what the series at this point in time could look like, and what we think may transpire in the playoffs. Well, what I know will transpire because obviously I'm always right. So
yeah, that's why your sports bet account is looking so favourable at the moment. Obviously, your ability to pick the winner is well renowned. So
yeah,
look, in terms of conference, would you like to start us off with an East or West sort of vibe?
We'll start with East because
lovely,
it's way more
predictable.
Yeah. So obviously Boston are going to be the number 1 seed. Could this be the largest gap between a 1 and 2 seed in NBA history? 14 games currently.
I remember, what was it? Like when Miami and the Heatles were sort of going on the last year, I believe. I think the Hawks were the last seed in the East again. And I believe they were 6 games under 500.
No, but I mean a gap between first and second.
Oh,
so from Boston
sorry, I thought I misread. Yeah, it probably will be, I'd imagine. I mean, Boston is on fire. Milwaukee are losing to Washington.
Didn't they lose to Charlotte as well or something like that?
I think they lost to like 4 of them. 4 of like the worst teams in the league they lost to in a row. So yeah, they're looking cooked right now. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But obviously Boston haven't been as successful in the playoffs in recent times in comparison to a team like Milwaukee. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, if you listened to this podcast before, you probably know my disdain for Mr. Doc Rivers and his inability to coach in any sort of situation, regardless of what talent he has around him. Now, in terms of the first round matchup, it'd be Hawks, Boston.
Well, currently, which I think is actually very interesting with Joel Embiid just coming back, it is Philly versus Boston in the first round.
Jeez, all right.
Which would be a tough draw for Boston in the first round because Philly are obviously below.
Is Joel coming back, though, for sure?
He's already played.
Has he?
Yeah. He's back.
God, I'm not even up to date. What's going on?
Yeah, so he's got braids now. Looks different. But he's Philly realistically are a 4 seed or a 3 seed if Embiid didn't get injured.
Yeah.
And they've fallen to an 8th because he's missed most of the season and now he's come back. So that's a tough draw for Boston and probably the most interesting series now if it does pan out like that in the first round. I do think Boston would still win, but it's obviously a massive test now. Obviously, Maxey has had a great season. Embiid was on track to be in the MVP discussion again. So, obviously, he's had his difficulties in the playoffs in the past, Embiid, in terms of underperforming and being injured and whatever. But it definitely would be a test for Boston. We'll see how Porzingis matches up in the playoffs because he is a bit of a weaker center. So, Embiid could probably bitch him a bit in the post. But yeah, Tatum and Brown, I mean, they've got the experience. I'd still take them to win probably in 6.
Yeah, look, your brain tells you Boston, but your gut tells you Philly.
Does it?
I think it does. Now, it could just be my disdain for the favourite and my, liking for an underdog. However, I just think that Boston, in big circumstances, in big matchups, haven't really performed. Now, look, they've obviously gone through the East before they've gotten to the finals, where they've been top quality teams. But, I don't know, I think Philly with a rejuvenated Joel Embiid.
Kelly Oubre has had a resurgence this year.
Yeah,
unlike anything I've ever seen.
Well, obviously, Kelly Oubre is not as articulate and kind towards certain individuals, especially after the result against the Clippers. Did you see his what he said to the refs after the game? He's well, I think he's just got a different attitude on life. Maybe he's
he did get hit by a car, didn't he?
Well, I don't look. We won the game. Who cares? At the end of the day, but him, and I think Nick Nurse as well was sort of like
Nick Nurse was
calling, them profanity.
So Philly, they've got Buddy Hield now. They've got a bunch of solid role players. Obviously, Tobias Harris.
They've had for about 10 years, but and he's probably what is he averaging this year?
I'd say he's comfortably better than Jimmy Butler, but so that was a good decision, obviously.
Yeah,
but they do have a good team now, especially for an 8 seed. So I think they can win.
I think they can, especially with Joel. I think for the past couple of years, I think when it's gotten to the playoffs, I don't think it's that he's not clutch. I just think he's ran out of gas. I don't think he's early in his career dealt with a lot of injury problems, and I don't think he ever really experienced going, because when he's playing for Philly, he's playing 40 minutes a night, 82 games. I don't think he's ever really he didn't really prior any point in his career experience a full season plus playoffs, like that full commitment and hard toll on his body. And I think when it got to the playoffs where the standard elevates and where the competitiveness elevates, I think he couldn't really adjust and he looked a bit slow. But in this situation where he's coming back from injury, he's got a couple of games to sort of warm up prior to the playoffs. I think Boston is going to go sort of soaring in because he doesn't require athleticism or peak athleticism to do what he does, especially, like you said, to Porzingis, who's a bit of a weaker center. I really think Philly have a chance. I think Maxi's obviously taken a step up this year. Like you said, they've got solid role players that can win and can have a role and make an impact. Now, on paper, Boston have the best depth in the league. However, when it comes to the playoffs, I mean, teams find out that there is only one ball, and it comes down to certain moments. And we say this every year, it comes down to moments and what players can deliver in those moments and what players can't. So I think, even though on paper Boston look better, I still think that Philly probably could eke this out in a 6-game series. That's my bold prediction. I think Philly, and I don't think it's that bold. I think Philly do have the talent. And Nick Nurse is an experienced winner in the playoffs. He obviously took the Raptors team to the finals and won it. So I don't know. I think Philly could sort of surprise a couple of people and win in 6.
I could see them definitely giving them a scare. I mean, another 8v1 upset would be insane. Obviously, we had was it last year, Miami versus, what was that, 7-2, whatever it was. But again, at the moment, this 2v7 matchup is the Bucks Heat again.
Oh God.
So if I'm the Bucks, I'm shaking in my boots right now.
It's as a Clippers fan, it's like the West. We'll get to the West side, but it's very similar to the one we're probably going to get. And it's just pissing me off because it gives me PTSD. Now, this matchup, it's so tough to predict because against good teams, Milwaukee look unreal, but against shocking teams, they look horrendous. Now, to be fair, look, Doc Rivers came in, was horrendous, had a good patch, and now it's horrendous again. So it's very tough. Is it the matchups or is it just the way the team is the team is performing rather than?
Well, Lillard he's looked a little bit off, especially in late game situations. I've seen him get blocked on game-winning shots like 3 or 4 times. It feels like, which you've almost never seen from him in the past 5 to 10 years. So it does look to me that Lillard has lost half a step potentially, which is hurting them. Obviously, Giannis, again, is a liability in late game situations in terms of free throw shooting and that sort of stuff. So they are in trouble. Middleton is not the same player. He's noticeably different. So they are in a little bit of a sticky situation where if they don't win this year, they're probably fucked. And they do have Doc Rivers as their coach. So
I want the Bucks. Actually, no, I don't like Doc Rivers. I think the Heat might win. And again, it's another upset, but I think they have the solution to Giannis in, Bam. I think Bam can easily match up. Well, not easily because Giannis is a very tough player to guard, but I think he can match up with Giannis. And like you said, a lot of players are taking a dip in that team. Brook Lopez is getting older, Chris Middleton getting older. Key players, Damian Lillard's old. So very, very interesting to see. Now, look, the Heat aren't a spring chicken. They're not a young team. However, they do
Jimmy's still doing his thing.
Yeah, however, they do have young pieces in that team that get major minutes. And they have a guy in Jimmy Butler that can perform in the playoffs.
I have not seen Tyler Hero in months. I don't know what's up with him.
he's probably.
I don't know if he's coming back or not, but if he's back, I think they win. If he's not, it'll be difficult. They obviously picked up Rozier, who's another good scoring option for them. A bit inconsistent,
a bit patchy. Yeah,
you know, if he gets it going, he can help you win a game. So yeah, I mean, I like Miami. Obviously, Spoelstra is probably the best coach in the league, especially in a 7-game series when he gets a chance to, you know, make matchups and plays that specifically work against a team he gets to go at night after night. We've seen Doc Rivers fail to make any sort of adjustment whatsoever in a playoff series for the past 10 years and lose consistently. So that would be a factor. But I just don't know how this happens. The Heat every year just suck in the regular season and then win in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's...
Not that they suck.
Look,
they still have
I
a good
don't
record,
like
but
picking based on history, though. I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't make me feel like I'm
but
properly...
it's just, when it happens over and over again, it's like Jimmy Butler clearly does not give a shit about the regular season.
Yeah.
There is a noticeable change in his attitude towards how he approaches a game when the playoffs start. So, and he's done it for years. So, yeah, it is picking off history, sort of. But why would history not repeat itself when it's so similar?
I mentioned it at the start. I think Heat scrape it, but I think it's a 7-gamer this one, and I think the Heat win in 7.
Okay.
Now. I mean, I don't like...
So far, Boston done, Milwaukee done.
Yeah. Well, the East is like that, though. I feel like... Actually, I feel the West is more like that, if I'm honest. But
yeah.
It's just tricky.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So, at the moment, the 3v6 matchup
Who do you have... Sorry, I didn't ask. Who do you have going through in Miami and Milwaukee? You have the Heat as well in how many games?
6.
6.
Yeah.
So we're both going to Heat.
Yeah. Well, I love Jimmy, so... That's why. But the 3v6 matchup is currently the Cavs versus the Pacers. Now, this is a pretty lackluster series, I feel like. If this does end up being the series, Cleveland have to win. I mean, if they don't win, it's blow it up sort of territory for that team. But they have a good team. They have a lot of talent on paper. They just probably haven't performed as well as they could have. Donovan Mitchell... I think he might be one of the players to have the most good teams without ever seriously contending for a championship. When you think about, ever since he's been in the league, every single year, I think his team has been a 2 to 6 seed in the playoffs and has never actually challenged whatsoever. So it's a little interesting thing where he's always good but never great. So, but I think he's better than the Pacers. Halliburton struggled since the All-Star break massively. Obviously, the Pacers have a pretty good offense. They're very fast. They did pick up Siakam, which helps. But they do struggle on defense. And the Cavs have lots of weapons. Garland's a beast. Mobley's good if he can get it going. Jared Allen's a good center. So LeVert's a good 6-man. So I'd probably take them in 5, to be honest. I think they should beat Indiana with the experience. But, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Indiana looks shocking, especially defensively since that... even since the in-season tournament, I think they haven't looked the same. Now, look, in terms of top quality players, you'd argue that Indiana have the best. In terms of the top 2 guys, I mean, Halliburton and Siakam arguably are the best 2 players in the series. Now, I would take Mitchell over Siakam, but that's just my personal preference. A lot of people would have Siakam over Mitchell at this point. I agree in terms of the amount of games as well. Even that, I can't see Indiana putting sustained effort. I can see them maybe in a 1 game putting up a crazy offensive performance, putting up 140 points and winning the game. But I can't see the consistency there. And I think Cleveland have a really solid team. Haven't done well in the playoffs so far when they've gotten Mitchell in, but I think for sure they've got enough talent, and I think they've got that cohesion in the team to win. Now, I don't think they get past the second round, but I think they probably are looking at this matchup and thinking, yeah, this is probably our best chance of getting through to that second round.
Yeah, I think so. Pretty easy one. The 4-5 matchup, again, is another pretty dead series, I'd say. The Orlando Magic currently have the 4th seed, which is insane to think about, considering where they've been in the past. decade, really. And the 5th seed is currently the Knicks. So the Knicks, obviously, without Randall, I think for the season now, I think he's said to be out for the rest of the season.
That's a massive one. I think. Well, I don't know where you're leaning, but
I literally have no idea.
I have no. If Randall was healthy, I'd pick Knicks comfortably. Now, Randall has had his shockers in the playoffs before because of his inconsistencies as a field goal shooter, but the top line talent of the Knicks is a lot better. Now, I love Paolo. I think they've got some really solid pieces there. However, in the Garden, guys like Jalen Brunson who have performed unbelievably. Now, I still give the Knicks a fighting chance in this series. It's just losing Randall. How much scoring are you going to get out of the Knicks?
Yeah, well, I mean, they need Anunoby to fucking play his ass off.
I mean, like
he's a great defender.
Yeah,
he's a good.
He impacts winning 100%. But how much are you really going to expect him to put up per night in the playoffs?
Well, yeah. Who is their second go-to guy? Is it
Josh Hart? Who is?
I mean, you can't Hartenstein.
Yeah. Did you see the story about him? That his dad is
black.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah,
look, bizarre stuff. Anyway, back on to our podcast. I think, I
must be missing someone. They must have some other players.
It's impossible. They've got DiVincenzo.
Oh yeah.
They have a good team, especially defensively, and with Tibbs there, they're obviously going to be great defensively. It's just I don't see an outlet for them to score more than 110 points in a play. I just don't.
I mean, they really
Jalen Brunson is unbelievable, but at the end of the day, he's a 6-foot guy. That how much can he honestly put up for them to win every night? He's going to have to put up 40 a night. He's going to have to do a Kawhi in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I would pick Magic in 6. After thinking about it a bit, I think the Magic offensively have a lot more talent. Well, Wagner, Cole Anthony, they have good talent offensively. I just think it's going to be a stinker of a series in my opinion. It's probably going to be the worst series in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, these playoffs matchups aren't finalized, so we don't know if it would be, but if this would be the case. But if this was the matchup, it would be an absolute all-time stinker. I think the Magic scrape by in 6.
I'd probably have to lean Magic as well. The only thing that would lean me towards Knicks is sometimes young teams, their first go in the playoffs, so they don't know what to do when the style of game changes, the moment becomes too big and they falter. And pretty much all great teams lose in the playoffs before they go on to win. So it wouldn't surprise me if they just have a shocker in the playoffs because they don't know what they're doing and the Knicks with slightly more experience are able to win. But yeah, I'd probably lean Orlando. I feel like this series is going to go 7 either way, just because they're both equally shit.
Really, you think 7?
Yeah, I think 7.
I just can't see the Knicks scoring at a consistent like to even push it to 7.
Yeah, who's the Magic coach? Steve Clifford? Is that?
No, he's Charlotte.
Is he?
Yeah. God, basketball is passing us by, isn't it? Jesus.
Because obviously Thibodeau, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he obviously does know what he's doing, but he's Scott Skiles. Is that? What is this? Even the internet doesn't know. Hang on. Let's have a look. Who are the coaches? Jamal Mosley.
I've never even heard of him.
I've never heard of this guy. Who the fuck is Jamal Mosley?
Okay.
He doesn't even have a picture on Wikipedia. No one even knows who he is.
He's never appeared on the sideline.
What the? Okay.
I've actually don't think I've ever met an Orlando Magic fan.
He played in the NBL though.
Okay.
Top guy. He won NBL Best Six Man in 2002. So
what do you average? 8 points?
No idea. Doesn't even say that. Yeah.
Have you ever met an Orlando Magic fan?
Yeah, because they're like weirdos that like go to Culture Kings like every day and shop and just get snapback
Tracy McGrady jerseys.
Yeah, people that like love retro jerseys. You just find those are the Orlando Magic fans.
Right.
Now, actual fans that watch Orlando Magic games do not exist. But there are fake Orlando Magic fans out there. I have seen a couple. Who was Pretty Boy? You know Pretty Boy Fredo, the YouTuber back. I think he was an Orlando Magic fan. Now he used to fake all of his pranks. So was he a real person? Who knows? But that's by the by. I think Orlando Magic probably is an NBA city where you're like, why is there an NBA city there? Why do they have a team and Vegas doesn't? Fuck knows, but that's or Seattle, no one knows. But yeah, it's like, you know, there's a lot of teams in different leagues that you're like, why is there a team there?
Yeah,
and just happens to be one of them. So that's the East all wrapped up. Thank God for that. We got that shit out of the way.
Yeah.
Now we can get to the real bad boy stuff.
The bad boys, the Western Conference, the
Wild West, as we like to call it.
The Wild West. As it stands currently, the number 1 seed somehow is the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I don't know how they've done it.
No,
they're 7-3 in their last 10. Anthony Edwards is on some. I mean, he's on something. Have you been watching the college basketball?
No.
So there's this guy that plays for the NC State. He's like, who in the Final Four? I think it might be happening today. I'm not too sure. He's like Zebo reincarnated.
Oh, I've seen this guy. Yes.
Like massive guy.
Yeah.
He's 23 years old, right?
Right. Okay.
Anthony Edwards is 22 years old. Anthony Edwards is averaging 27 points a game in the NBA, while this geezer's still in college. So it just puts into perspective how young Anthony Edwards is, that a guy a year older than him is in the college playoffs, and he's been in the NBA for 4 years. So look, I think his sort of emergence as the star of this team has been sort of correlated to the fact that Kat has been out. Now, Kat had a great season, and I think Anthony Edwards was going to have this sort of emergence at some point, but I think it's kind of thrusted him into the limelight, and I haven't been watching many Minnesota Timberwolves games, but you can see on the stat sheet that he is making a big impact on this team, and they've obviously got a great coach, Chris Finch, I believe, so he's obviously doing wonders there, and so we'll get to the round 1 prediction then.
So currently the 8th seed is
the LA Lakers.
The LA Lakers.
Now, as much as I want to, I obviously know where you're going to go because you're just an idiot, but I'm for the first time ever, I'm not going to disagree with your bias. Because,
well, it's not bias. You can easily see the Lakers winning that series.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can see the Lakers winning this. You can see the Lakers somehow being crap, and then now they've been good over the past 10, 15 games, but prior to that they were crap. And they just lock in to getting the Minnesota Timberwolves without their best player. It's like, all right, whatever. How do you see this first round matchup going as a Lakers fan?
Look, it's a favourable matchup. There's obviously worse matchups. Denver is a must avoid. Anyone else, I'd take, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, like Thunder, I'd take. Minnesota, I'd take. They're the 3 teams probably that we're going to be playing. One of those 3 teams. So because Clippers are too far back now. So they're the 3 teams. Denver would be the avoid. Thunder and Timberwolves, I'd take. Especially without Cat, I'd probably take Timberwolves as my first choice.
Over probably the other 7 seeds.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously AD, he's going to cook Gobert in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen Gobert be an absolute useless guy.
He has improved, though. Look, we have been known as the Rudy Gobert hate channel. And we've been probably the chair of the committee, as they say. He has improved. He has somewhat impact on their winning.
Yes, but he always does in the regular season.
That's the problem. When he gets to the playoffs and he's up against Terrence Mann, and Terrence Mann scores 40 points on him, it's a bit embarrassing. Where do you see him matching up with Anthony Davis? I think he matches up okay with Anthony Davis, if I'm honest. I think Anthony Davis's game... Now, look, if he's strong on the inside, he's impossible to deal with. But Gobert has that recovery length to deal with that. And also, Anthony Davis just takes a shit ton of mid-ranges. And I think when he's not contested or like kind of contested because no one wants him to go inside, he hits those mid-ranges at quite a good consistency. However, when you get a longer guy that's able to sort of compete and kind of alter the shot, he doesn't make a lot of them. Now, shocker, when he's more contested, he misses more. But my point is, I feel like when he has that added length going up against him, I don't think he's as effective.
Yeah, but I mean, even
now he's a lot quicker, but
but the objective would be to get Gobert out of the paint. Even if you're not making those shots, if you can get him out of the paint, we have some of the best cutters in the league. I mean, LeBron has obviously made $1 billion.
Is he though? Is he?
Even at this point, he's still elite at that. Rui Hachimura is great at that. Vanderbilt hopefully is going to come back. That's all he can do on offense. So, Gabe Vincent I saw play today. Gabe Vincent has made an appearance.
Kendrick Nunn 2.0 has finally played. Did he look good or?
0 points. 0 points.
Mate.
So
Kendrick Nunn 2.0.
I think Dinwiddie might have taken his minutes, to be honest. But we've got him there for depth. We've got good depth. We can say that. But the big factor, I think, is D'Angelo Russell. Now, he's been amazing the second half of this season. Way better, way more consistent than I ever thought he could be. But we did see what happened in the playoffs last year, where he was fucking awful. So
you're a bit scarred from that.
Yeah. I'm hopeful. I think if D'Lo plays well, we win. I think he's that important to the series because we know what LeBron and AD are going to do. Anthony Edwards, we're not going to be able to stop him. So I think he's going to be the guy that would make the difference.
But my problem with that strategy is Anthony Davis is your best player. And if you're saying, we'll keep Anthony Davis on the outside to keep Gobert out the paint, you're basically saying, hey, we're going to have to beat the number one seed in the West, even without, Cat. We're going to have to beat the number one seed in the West with a 40-year-old LeBron James and a bunch of solid role players.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 40-year-old LeBron James, but he's still LeBron James.
It's just for Anthony Davis, I think for you to win more than one series or to go anywhere in the playoffs, I think you need Anthony Davis to be your best player. And if you're saying, look, he might have to take a back seat in this series,
I don't think he has to take a back seat. I think he can make some fucking moves over Gobert.
Can he make jumpers? Are you relying on Anthony Davis to make consistent jumpers? Is that what you're...
I don't think we have to rely on it, but I think it could work for the game plan. I mean, if he gets the ball in the paint, I think he can score over Gobert.
I just don't think it's a favourable matchup for you guys. Even though it's the easiest team
who
on
are you going to
pick. It's a really tough one. It is really, really
Lakers
tough.
in 6.
You have Lakers in 6.
Mm-hmm.
I have T-Wolves in 7. I'll go T-Wolves in 7. I understand your thinking, and on paper, if you go play for player, you probably have the better sort of situation there, but there's no way that you can win, in my opinion, when you have Gobert matched up against, as much as we harp on about how bad he is, when he's matched up against a big guy, he is really, really good. And his ability to recover with his length, I just don't think Anthony Davis will have a big of an impact as you need him to. And ultimately, it will kill you in that Game 7. And that's just my prediction. Obviously, you can't predict these things, but I just, for some reason, I just think the Timberwolves and it might be an Anthony Edwards coming out party. Who's going to stop him? Like you said, D'Lo, horrible defender.
Well, I think Vanderbilt will be the
LeBron
man.
at this state, but is Vanderbilt quick? I mean, how tall is Vanderbilt?
He's like
6'8".
6'8". Yeah, but he's fucking elite defensively.
Can he move laterally to keep up with Edwards though?
Well, yeah, he's going to average 30 most likely, no matter who's defending him.
I think he could average more. I honestly think it could be like a Luka against the Clippers, where in his coming out party, he averages 35 to 38 points a night.
I probably wouldn't have him that high, but
that's the main problem that you have is perimeter defense, in my opinion, especially against smaller guys. And I just think the matchup doesn't favor you. You've got a guard, an elite scoring guard, which doesn't play well into your defense. And the other team's also got a big, long rim protector, which doesn't help you as well. So those two factors I don't think will help you in terms of... I know you, on paper, like I said, Timberwolves' most favorable matchup. I just don't think, in actuality, it is the most favourable matchup. I think against the Thunder, you'd have a lot better chance of winning. Because there's no way that Chet,
Chet is getting fucked.
Chet, like Gobert is kind of skinny, but he's quite strong. Like he's not.
Yeah.
Chet, like Chet can absolutely recover on blocks, but against Anthony Davis, he'll get absolutely destroyed. There's no chance that, and they've got a ton of young guards really that are decently sized, but they're 6'7", 6'8", 6'6". No chance they deal with Anthony Davis. No chance.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, that all likelihood that won't be the series, but if it is, I like our chances. But moving on. Currently the second seed, the defending champs, Denver Nuggets versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I think Denver obviously win the series, but New Orleans, if healthy, do have a good team. Zion could be a tough matchup for Jokic just because he's so athletic and Jokic isn't. But I do think Denver would win comfortably. I think Jamal Murray has been out recently, so if he's out, that could be a big factor.
Yeah.
But if they're full strength, I mean, I can't see anyone beating them, to be honest. So
yeah, Nuggets in 5 for me. The Pelicans have been on a really bad run recently. I thought that I was kind of hoping that we'd play them in round 1 and they'd be the 5th seed, but they've sort of dropped off. And while the Phoenix and Dallas have moved up, so yeah, there's no way I think that they beat Denver. Even without Jamal Murray, I still have Denver. I just don't trust the Pelicans in the playoffs. They have solid talent. Zion is looking good. It's just there's no way that a team of no offense, but there's no way that the team of New Orleans quality is going to beat the Nuggets at this point. So
no, it would definitely be long odds. So moving on, the 3 seed versus 6 seed, probably the biggest after Minnesota, probably the biggest surprise of this season. The Thunder in the 3rd seed, currently matching up against the Suns. Now, I think the Suns would be licking their lips at this at the moment. From what they could match up against, I think you'd want these younger teams like Minnesota and the Thunder who haven't, well, especially the Thunder, who none of them have been there before in the playoffs. Phoenix, obviously, while extremely light on in terms of depth, if healthy, they do have 3 of the 4 best players in that series. So I could easily see them winning it. I'd probably pick them. I'd probably pick them.
Phoenix recently? Have you seen, how have they been sort of working?
I haven't been watching their games, but I don't feel like I need to be honest. I know how they're going to play.
I just know, so I don't really need to.
And yeah, the Thunder, they have a lot of good players, and they work really well as a team. Their chemistry's great. They have a lot of shooting. But I got to see it to believe it with the Thunder.
And Thunder fans won't like that because they've obviously been a great team all season and they've really surprised a lot. But it's kind of unsurprising because you look at how much talent that they have. It's just that they haven't played all together. They've due to injuries or whatever, potential criminal allegations. I won't say that, but
well, innocent.
Yeah, innocent. Have you seen Sketch?
Sketch?
You know, the streamer?
No.
You haven't seen Sketch? Oh, I've got to show you. He does a Josh Giddey meme, which is very, very funny. Right. He's like all over have you not heard of What's Up, Brother?
No.
Like where he puts his finger. What's up, brother? Have you never heard of
I've probably seen it, but I can't.
You need to get in the loop. Anyway, let's move on from that individual. In terms of the series, oh God, it's so tough. The West, it's just so tough. It is. And look, the East is tough for a different reason because apart from the top 3 teams, they're shit.
Yeah.
You could argue outside the top team, they're shit. So it's tough to pick between shit, but this is due to quality. Phoenix have been a lot better. Now, in terms of... I can't even talk because I'm so confused.
Say something.
I'm just confused. I'll pick
Kevin Durant is on the Suns.
What? I thought he was on the...
Devin Booker is on the Suns.
What? I thought he was on the Thunder. Fuck. All right, that changes my pick. No, I'm going Thunder.
Really? Okay.
I get it that their lack of experience is a turn-off for a couple of people, especially you. But
Big experience guy.
I don't think. Okay. I don't think experience matters.
Yeah.
I think it can be your first time in there, and you can perform well.
Yeah.
No, but look, I think the Warriors, when I think I've said it a couple of times, I think when the Warriors were in there, that when they won their first chip, they were pretty unexperienced. But yeah, I think the Thunder have a really well-connected team that obviously have Shea, who's a 30-point per game scorer. They have really good role players. They have scorers at both, big and small. I think they got good depth. I don't see that with the Suns. I see a team that could probably win 2 games out of this series. So I'd pick the Thunder in 6. And I think in those 2 games, they could look like the best team in the league. But for the other 4 games of the series, I think they'll look like, how the hell did they make the playoffs? Because of their lack of depth and their lack of interior presence. There is just 0 of either. So, yeah, I would pick the Thunder in this one.
Yep, I'd probably lean towards the Suns.
Really?
In 7.
Is it just because of you got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley?
Pretty much, yeah.
How are they going to be cohesive in the playoffs, though?
Well, I don't know. Just fucking work it out.
Okay.
Just do it.
Whatever.
They got Nurkic, right? He can probably guard Chet a bit.
Yeah, he's a great defender, Nurkic. Yeah, he's been known for his defense. Criminally known for his lack of defense. But,
oh, well, we'll see how they go.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Now, the big boy matchup.
The final matchup.
The one that I have been, as a Clippers fan, been very, very, very not looking
every day that goes by, it's looking more and more likely.
Yeah, and it's just, why is it Luka every... Now, we've won. We've won like 3 out of 4 times we come up against him. I think.
We won in the bubble.
We won in the bubble. We won the next one. I think we lost the one after that. And then we won. I can't exactly remember. But the amount of times we have to face Dallas it's got to be some kind of, Houdini. Like, it's got to be some type of magic shit going on here. I don't know what's going on, but I am just regretting it. Not because we haven't had some sort of success against the Mavericks in the playoffs, but we can never stop Luka. No matter who we put on him, he is just so unbelievable in the playoffs. It's impossible to stop. And now he has Kyrie. And now he has, they traded all their first-round picks for, solid depth. They have solid, especially interior. Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington. They have good depth at the big man position.
Who's their rookie who's good? Lively.
Yeah, they have, good play. Their team is a lot better than what we faced in the past.
Yeah.
Now, Jason Kidd in the playoffs hasn't done that well. And that's something to be sort of noted. And I think as a coaching matchup, especially in the play, no, I don't rate Tyler as as high as Kendrick Perkins does, but I think in the playoffs he does have a history of success, especially in the sort of 5, 6, 7 game region. It's just so annoying that we have to play this, because I think the Mavericks could probably get out the West. We talk about the Wild West, and we genuinely mean it. There are probably 5, 6 teams in the West that could easily make the finals. And now Denver, a lot of people consider Denver sort of the creme de la creme. But if Jamal Murray is looking a bit dodgy, you never know. And I think Dallas, with the moves that they've made, have come on leaps and bounds in the latter end of the season, and they're looking really, really solid. So I don't know how you would pick it. As a Clippers fan, I'm nervous as fuck, but
yeah, it's tough. Obviously, it's going to depend, because is everyone healthy on the Clippers?
Yes.
Kawhi's
not playing at the moment, but I think he'll be back for the next game. It was just a minor sort of niggle.
Well, we've seen that last a year before.
Yeah. So. That's a fair point. But no, I think he was expected back for the next game.
Okay, so if everyone on the Clippers is healthy, I can see them winning. I can see them winning.
You can see them winning. Wow.
I can.
You can see the 4th seed beating the 5th seed.
It is
lovely
extremely difficult though, because Westbrook, we know he can't shoot. In the playoffs, that is an issue. James Harden,
but everyone else can though.
James Harden is bipolar in the playoffs. We saw that last year. He's
He's
single-handed.
bipolar in the regular season. I don't know what you've been watching recently.
Especially in the playoffs. Last year, he single-handedly won Philly 2 games and single-handedly lost them the other 4. So that could be an issue. Paul George, again, up and down in the playoffs.
That's the issue. We look unreal some games. I would put us up against anybody in terms of ball movement, in terms of offensive ability, in terms of output offensively and defensively, up against anyone on our best day. But on our worst day, we look horrendous. Yeah. And you have Paul George shooting 8 for 22 from the field. You have James Harden shooting 1 from 10. And Kawhi's the only guy with consistency. So I think James Harden has obviously made us a better team. But like you said, he has had bad playoff performances. So it's one of them. But Kawhi, again, takes a leap up when he's in the play. So it's such a tough series to predict.
Well, Kawhi is the metronome. Kawhi has to match whatever's Luka's doing, really.
Which he has done in previous years, to give him credit. So I think if Kawhi matches Luka and PG matches Kyrie, I think in offensive output, because defensively, Kawhi and PG are leaps and bounds better than Kyrie and Luka. If they can match them offensively, then you're going to have a situation where you've got more scoring on the Clippers, where you've got Norman Powell, who's a very consistent scorer. You know, you've got Westbrook, who can't shoot, but will put up a solid amount of points a game. You have James Harden, who can pull up a solid amount of points a game. You got Terrence Mann, put up a solid amount. You have a ton of players. Zubac can obviously have damage inside. I don't think he'll be as effective with the team that Dallas have sort of construed over the course of the trade deadline, especially. But I think he could have some success. I think the Clippers are better from a role player perspective. So I think the offensive output has to be matched from our top 2 guys to their top 2 guys. So I think, like you said, I think that's the sort of key for the Clippers to winning it. Now, do you have a pick? Are you just going to say that the Clippers can win it?
All things equal, I would probably lean Clippers. I can see it going 7 very easily. It's fucking hard to pick. I got to be honest. I'll go Clippers in 7. But yeah, it's. I could very easily see Dallas winning. You can't pick against your own team.
I know. I'm thinking about the games.
Right.
I'll match you. I think Clippers in 7. I'm so nervous about it. It's
look. I'm more confident against Minnesota.
You know, when you're working, you're busy, you don't get to have a chance to watch. I mean, I try and watch as many Clippers games as I can, but you know, you're working, you don't really pay attention to the standings that often, and you check it once every 1 or 2 weeks for the NBA. And you know, about 3 weeks ago, I'm like, fuck, the Mavericks are kind of surging here. I don't like this. I don't want to play them round 1. Another week goes by, you're like, shit, all right, the Mavericks are tied with the Pelicans, great. Pelicans, can you win some fucking games, please? And then the Pelicans drop off. Then last week, the Pelicans drop off, Mavericks and Phoenix surge, and you're like, right, all right, great. So we're going to have probably the 2 worst matchups for us in the NBA to come up against. Great. That's great. Great to know. So, yeah, it's a nightmare. I think, what year was it? I think it was the 2020 series that we had against the Mavericks. I literally couldn't watch the last 4 games of that series.
I think just Luka had the buzzer-beater game winner in one of those.
I couldn't mentally watch it because it was so stressful watching Luka do whatever he wanted. And he bricked a ton of free throws, which probably won us the series. But the amount of times he would torch us and it would scare the shit out of me. I just couldn't watch it because I was going to get a heart attack watching this guy cook us. So, yeah, I think it's going to be one of them. And I don't think I'll be able to watch it if it's the Mavericks. I'm honest. I can't watch us get smoked by Luka again. It would kill me. So I'm hoping the Clippers can win the chip. I had zero faith at the start of the season when we were 3-10. I got a bit of faith back. We're at the 4 seed. Let's just hope that we can do something. I at this point, it's just I've had that much disappointment from them. It's kind of bizarre that anyone would still have faith in them. So I'm just gonna leave it to hope.
Yeah, that's what sport does to you, mate.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm unusually unlucky. I feel like my experience is
only
really
one team
singular.
can win.
What?
Only one team can win.
Yeah, but I'm a fan of like a team of like 7 different sports. So and none of them ever win. And they all come really close and never win. So it's even worse.
Well,
if you're a fan of I was thinking about this yesterday. If you're a fan of a bad team, it's breezy. You're like, team sucks. But you like enjoy watching the games because there's nothing on the line. And you just look out for like the young talent and see if you've got any future. That's fun. Like, that's enjoyable. There's no stress involved because you don't expect to win. Teams that have all the talent in the world and then lose are the worst. They give you all the hope and then absolutely suck. It is the worst fit. Like, when I watched the Clippers when it was like Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, Pat Bev, before Kawhi and PG came, I loved it. When we lost to the Warriors, I was like, all right, sweet. We put up a good fight. That's all you want to see.
Yeah, but you'd also rather be as good as you can be and win.
Yeah, I get that. Anyway, it's a tricky one. Anyway, is there anything else you'd like to sort of comment on it, on the NBA? Is there any additional?
No, I think that's all pretty good. We can quit MVP. You got Luka for MVP, Jokic. It's only 2.
I haven't really thought about it, if I'm honest, mate.
Me neither. I'm just saying Jokic.
Yeah, just pick Jokic, who cares? I mean,
no one cares about MVP anymore.
No one cares.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good for NBA. Obviously, we'll see how the seedings unfold. Probably 80% of that will be invalid because that won't be the matchups. But anyway,
fun.
Cool to talk about. Moving on, do you want to have a chat about soccer or...
We can have a brief one. Obviously, the Premier League title race is heating up. Arsenal won this morning against Brighton 3-0. And so, yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool, probably in the main, which is a bit surprising that City aren't sort of in the main driver's seat, but Liverpool are at the moment. But there's a point in it. So it's really neck and neck. And yeah, it's as Gary Neville famously said, it's like picking someone to sleep with your wife. It's just, you don't like any of them to win. You don't really want any of them to win. So it's just like, why? Why do I care? Man United lose again. Probably the worst against Chelsea. Probably the worst referee game I've seen. We were shocking in it anyway, but we were up 3-2 in the 98th minute, and then we lost 4-3. There was like 11 minutes of extra time, which makes no sense.
Oh god,
I don't really get it, but whatever. Cole Palmer gets 2 dodgy ass penalties. That aren't penalties. Let's be real. Both of them aren't penalties. We have no centre backs. We have Harry Maguire and Willie Camboyala are our 2 centre. That's not like you think I'm joking.
I've never even heard of Willie Camboyala.
No one has. He was like the 6th string centre back before the season started.
Is Varane still at the club?
He's injured.
Is he?
Every player's injured. We don't have a left back. We have 1 striker. Like, it's a joke. But no, we're shocking. So that's great.
Is Villa's 4th, right? They've locked up 4th.
Yeah, they haven't locked it up. It could be top 5 this year for Champions League.
Okay.
So
we'd still miss that.
Yeah, we'd still miss that. So yeah, Tottenham are probably looking at the 5th seed. So they'll probably get that. And yeah, that's the Premier League at the moment. It's probably more interesting to talk about in a 3 or 4 weeks when it's properly starting to sort of set in and you get sort of everything on the table. But yeah, it is what it is at the moment. United are in an FA Cup semi-final though against Coventry, so we should.
Who's on the other side?
Coventry.
No, but in the other semi.
Oh, I think it's City.
It's fucking always
Chelsea.
City.
I think it's City Chelsea. I think
wasn't it City United last year?
Was the final, yeah. And I remember watching it with you, and you were actively supporting Man City as a Man United fan. So
I wasn't supporting.
Yeah, you were.
I just laughed at how quickly they scored.
If you ever go watch a sport...
Gundogan.
Now, you can watch the UFC with Oscar because he's quite knowledgeable about it, and he cares about individual fighters. And and it's individual, so it's not like it's a team thing. Oscar is a self-proclaimed Man United fan and a New South Wales State of Origin fan.
New South Wales, I bleed blue.
Have you ever, in your life seen either a Queenslander or a New South Welshman celebrate the other team scoring a try that puts them in the lead? Have you ever seen that?
I'm sure you have.
Now, you may be thinking, oh, Ollie, what happens if it was the final leg of his multi that made him hundreds and thousands of dollars? Yeah, I'd understand that situation. But when it's the first leg of a 6-leg multi that makes you $50, what the fuck are you doing?
You can't win the whole multi without the first leg.
Yeah, but why would you celebrate? Oh, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. Anyway, I think I've probably told that story a million times, but yeah, watching the Man United game with him, FA Cup final, probably, and I had a Liverpool fan as well watching the game, and I get taking shit from him when we were losing, but taking shit from this guy who's a Man United fan who's like, oh, we're shit today, eh? And it was just
funny how quickly they conceded and how
it was funny to him. He laughed when we went 1-0 down.
It was just funny because of how much you cared about it, and I was like,
I care about it.
Look, if it was a Champions League final,
it's an FA Cup final.
Yeah, but I don't really care about an FA Cup.
Okay,
if I'm honest.
Yeah,
it doesn't define greatness.
That's what I have to deal with when I'm watching Man United, which is rare with Oscar, but
I was just pissed off by how bad they were, so I was like, fuck this team.
So anyway, that's by the by, but moving on from football, is there anything, any UFC stuff you'd like to talk about?
Speaking of UFC, UFC 300 is next week. The self-proclaimed biggest card in UFC history, so we can go through and preview that. Now, we've gone through and said the main event was a little bit lackluster for UFC 300, and a few of the fights on there are not sort of ideal, but top to bottom, it is extremely deep. Probably the deepest card in UFC history, I'd say. So we can quickly go through it, give our thoughts. Now, some of the, I don't know how you describe it, the postings, like where they've placed certain fights on the card is a bit disrespectful.
Why would you say that?
Especially that, the first fight of the night is Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt, which does not deserve to be the first fight of the night when you've got Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez on the card.
Quality, mate.
Yeah, so the first fight, but they've done that obviously to get people watching the very start of the broadcast.
Big brain stuff, right?
So, yeah. Now, the fight itself is very interesting. I'm going to go with Figueiredo because Garbrandt is
cooked.
He's cooked.
He is absolutely washed beyond belief. Had probably the best. I mean, I'll go with Garbrandt because probably it looks cool with the tattoos. He called TJ Dillashaw a rat, which was fun. Had probably the best fight anyone's ever had without being that great. Even though he was good, probably had the best out-of-body performance that anyone's ever had.
Yeah.
So, fair play to the guy. He's washed, but, he's got cool tattoos, so...
Yeah, and he's still, Figueiredo's 36, I think. Garbrandt's only, 32 or something.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yes, he was super young when he was champ. So, but yeah, this is really last draw sort of stuff for him. He's probably 1 foot out the door if he loses.
Ranked?
No, he's not ranked. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's cooked.
He did win his last fight, but it was against a bum. So, yeah. Next up, we got Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Now, this is an old head fight. But the interesting thing is Jim Miller, he fought on UFC 100.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard Jim Miller, was fighting, like Brock Lesnar and, Chuck Liddell was fighting.
His first UFC event, I believe, was UFC 86.
What the
Yeah.
How old is this guy?
He's 40.
What? How old was he at UFC 86? He must have been 16.
He was in his 20s.
Jesus
early 20s, I think.
Christ. How many fights has he had?
Most in UFC history.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So he fought on 100, 200, and now he's fighting on 300. So big accomplishment in terms of longevity. He was always a journeyman sort of guy, never really fought. I don't think he ever fought for a title or was ever in that sort of discussion, but he's always been a decent fighter that'll beat the scrubs and lose to the good guys. But it's a cool thing to be on 100, 200, and 300. You can obviously have that for the rest of his life, however long his brain lasts. But
what about 400?
400, Who knows? Maybe. Bobby Green, again, an entertaining fighter. I think he'll win just because Jim Miller's 40, so I'll go with Bobby Green there. Next fight, Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Nobody gives a fuck. Next fight, Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. Do you know either of those? That's a cool fight if you know about it.
No.
No? It's a ranked lightweight fight, so it's going to be a cool fight. I'll go with Jalen Turner because why not?
He's putting his sports bet on right now as we speak. He's doing off the cuff.
So that's the early prelims. Now we go to the main prelims. Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. Going to go with Sadiq Youssef. You probably don't know those guys. No. Next fight, women's fight. This one, you might know. Holly Holm.
I do know who Holly Holm is.
Versing Kayla Harrison in her debut for the UFC. Which Kayla Harrison was, I believe she's an Olympic gold medalist in judo or something.
Oh, shit.
She was the PFL champion. They've signed her as this big free agent. Thing is, she's already 36 or something, and she's huge. In terms of weight for a woman. Not fat, but like big build.
Like cyborg huge or?
Like probably bigger. So she fought at 155 in PFL.
Jeez.
And she needs to cut to 35. Oof. So this probably not going to make the weight, let's be honest. But
going to cut that $20,000 check in half.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
So that'll be interesting. But I think if she makes the weight, she should beat Holly Holm, who's old as fuck at this point. Yeah, they're all old as fuck.
Yeah,
but
it just sounds like names at this point.
Yeah, so, and that's, it's going to be a boring fight, let's be honest. Next up, Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling. This is a very interesting fight.
Yeah, I've heard of those guys. Calvin Kattar once was regarded as a top contender.
Yeah, he's still good. And Sterling, this is his move up to featherweight. So he obviously lost the belt in his last fight. And he's moving up to featherweight to try and give that a crack. Interesting fight. Kattar does have the crisper striking. If he can keep it standing, I think he can win a decision.
Aljamain was a guy that faked. Well, not faked, but he got he did a Stephen Cryan. Yeah, all right.
No, we did a Leonardo DiCaprio. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just gonna pick Kattar.
Kattar?
Yeah.
Okay.
No real confidence. Sterling could very easily win.
All right.
Then the main event of the prelims, which should be on the main card, it's a travesty that it's not, is Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. Do you know Prochazka but not Rakic?
Prochazka's the guy with the weird hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the name value though. Like I barely know Rakic. I think it's more the name. What are they ranked? Where's
like probably 2 and 5 or something.
Okay, so solid fight. Yeah. I mean, is from the main event? Is there something that you'd knock down to replace this with?
Bo Nickel.
Well, yeah, wasn't Bo Nickel supposed to be like the first fight of the night?
Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage is on the main card.
I thought Bo Nickel was supposed to be like the first fight of the prelims. Like I thought that was what should be the sort of broadcast. Oh, that's interesting.
He's the first fight of the main card.
God, this card is cooked. This card is absolute.
But yeah, he should win this fight because he's a fucking bum.
Who did you have? Do you have Prochazka?
Yeah, Prochazka. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we get to the good fights. Charles Oliveira coming back against Arman Sarukian. This is a very interesting fight. Sarukian's like a young up-and-comer in lightweight, absolute beast. He's fought Makhachev before, and it was a pretty close fight. Like it was...
When was this?
4 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago, something like that. So it was before Makhachev was really high up the rankings, but it was a close fight, and Sarukian, I think he's won every fight since then. Well, actually, no, I think he lost a decision, but he could have won it, so
okay.
I'm just rambling. Very interesting fight. I think Oliveira will have the crisper striking.
Okay.
And obviously he's extremely dangerous on the ground. Like if you get in his submissions, you're fucked. And Sarukian is a wrestling guy that can strike. So it's a very interesting matchup. It stumped me.
It stumped you?
I really don't know who's going to win. I'm going to go with Oliveira just because I like him and he's very fun fighter to watch, so I'm just going to stick with him. I'm going to hope that he wins because Sarukian, he's a bit cocky for my liking. I feel
You
like
don't
you have
like
to earn it a bit.
You don't like it when a fighter's cocky unless they've won.
Yeah.
I agree.
And what's the thing they say? The champ has a name, and it's Do Bronx Oliveira. That's his saying.
That hits. That slap.
That hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you got Oliveira in that one?
yeah.
Okay.
Then we go to the BMF belt. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway.
Interesting.
BMF belt.
It's an interesting fight. I think obviously they're intending it to be good, like just fucking haymakers being thrown, and just being an absolute brawl. I'm assuming.
Well, it will be that. It just depends whether Max can take the shots, because Gaethje is going to hit way harder than Max.
Yeah.
So, and Max Holloway obviously has probably the greatest chin of all time in UFC history. He's never been dropped in his career, which is insane when you go through the list of people he's fought. But at some point it will go. And
Maybe never. It could.
No, at some point it will go.
They said the same thing about LeBron. They said the same thing about Tom Brady.
Punched in the face. Yeah.
They said he'd be washed. It's a human body, mate. Sometimes it
I
could
guess. But we saw the last time Max moved up to lightweight and fought Poirier, he got rocked a few times. Didn't get dropped, but he definitely got rocked. And Gaethje and Poirier they're very similar level of fighter. They're almost the exact same level of fighter.
Didn't they fight each other?
Yeah, they just fought and Gaethje knocked out Poirier. But, that could go
Either way.
if they fought 100 times. So, yeah. I want Max to win. I like Max. He's always got a soft spot in my heart. His fight against Ortega, fun fact, is what got me into UFC. So
really? What happened? Was it?
I just saw like a little highlight video of it on Snapchat. I don't know why. And I just was like, wow, this is awesome. I love it. And I love him
it a lot.
Yeah. And then next card after that happened to be John Jones' return after one of his many suspensions against Alexander Gustafsson, and then he won the light heavyweight belt back.
Nice,
very nice. So your brain says Gaethje, your heart says Max.
Yeah, I think Gaethje. I like you said, it's just he's too big. He punches too hard. Max has a problem with knocking people out. So is he going to knock out the guy that's bigger than what he's traditionally used to fighting? Don't really think so. So I think Gaethje wins this one.
Yeah. Hopefully it just lasts a few rounds, so at least it's a cool fight. Co-main event is Weili Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan.
My nan.
Yeah. It's an all-Chinese title fight.
Nice. Is there a reason behind it, or are they both like, so who's the current title holder?
Weili.
And
Zhang.
Is the other Chinese lady a good one or a good fighter, or is it just because she's Chinese as well?
She deserves the title shot.
Okay.
But I think Weili Zhang will destroy her.
Okay. She's
pretty good. She had the sick fight with Joanna, where Joanna's head turned into an alien. And she's very good. So I'd probably lean towards her. Again, this is probably where some people may choose to go to the bathroom.
Are you going to be one of those people?
Well, it's a long card. It's probably it might be a 6-hour watch, something like that. I mean, the amount of space the UFC puts in between the fights, just promoing shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long watch, but yeah, Weili Zhang probably to win. And then we get to the main event, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Alex Pereira. I'm just picking Alex Pereira. Fuck Jamal Hill.
I mean, it's the shit. I mean, I've seen fight nights with a better main event.
Not recently.
I mean, who cares about Jamal Hill? Has anyone? I really didn't hear. Like, obviously, I'm a casual, but never heard Jamal Hill's name prior to this card being announced.
Well, he's been champion.
I know, but like, it's the weakest the light heavyweight division has ever been in its history. So, I mean, let's not take the piss here. This is a weak last two fights. So
yeah,
I think it's probably just going to be. Could you imagine if Conor was just Conor? Could you imagine?
Well, apparently there's Conor news incoming soon.
That's what I mean. I just don't believe it at this point. I think he's never fighting again. He's on roids. He's on whatever. Allegedly.
Have you watched the movie?
Yeah, Roadhouse.
Have you watched it?
I haven't I've seen clips of it.
Yeah. He is funny in it.
Apparently, it is very, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
It's
like he's
comical.
Literally just walking around being himself, like doing his little strut.
I don't think he looked that bad. I think it was a good movie. I think it looked like a good movie. So
yeah. And I love how in the interviews he's taking himself seriously as an actor now. He's like, the roles I do are endless. I'll be in the Oscars soon.
Do you reckon he could do like an American accent? Do you reckon
No.
he could commit himself to like actually putting on like a different performance?
No.
He's gonna be some Irish fucking tough guy in every movie that he's ever in.
Have you seen the meme where he walks into like an empty house? He's like, "Where is everybody?"
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, he's always doing something. You got to pay attention to the man. You can't knock him for that. And also, I guess one last big news in UFC: Rob Whittaker got announced to fight Hamzat. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
He got booked to fight Hamzat. Main event of UFC Saudi Arabia. Very scary fight for Rob, but apparently it's been billed as a title eliminator, so that's probably why he's taking it.
Yeah.
Obviously, hopefully he can get it done.
Hamzat's just... he never makes weight.
Well, it's 85. He missed it at 70.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's up. Okay. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think you obviously want Rob to win, but is Rob ever going to win a title? Is he ever going to actually do it? Obviously, he won the interim, but is he ever going to do it, win it actually, or is it... Do you think he's got a chance here, or...?
I think he has a good chance. I mean, the first round is going to be extremely dangerous, but he went to a decision with Gilbert Burns that was close, you know? And Whittaker would kill Burns.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, both guys could win for sure. I do think Rob has a great chance, especially if he can drag it into rounds 4 and 5. We've never seen Hamzat in those rounds.
Okay.
And he has slowed down traditionally as the fight goes on. So, it is obviously a dangerous fight, but I do think he has a good chance. And the other reason it's kind of weird is that fight's booked for July. Yeah. The UFC have just announced they're coming back to Australia in August with a pay-per-view card. So
why
now,
would you not have Rob Whittaker?
Exactly. So now, obviously, Whittaker can't be on that card. The plan is they want to do Duplessis versus Adesanya as the main event.
Obviously, would be... Why that needs to be an Africa event. Why is that? Put that in South Africa.
Yeah, but they don't want to go to Africa.
Why?
There's obviously complications there of some sort.
I know, but if you're ever going to do an Africa event, it's that fight.
Yeah.
So I mean, you might as well just... I mean, surely in South Africa there's some good places.
The thing is, they're contractually obligated to come to Australia now because they signed this deal, and Volk's just lost the belt. So Adesanya, they're like, oh, he's kind of close to Australia.
I get that. So, yeah, you'd get a lot of Australians into the gates for an Adesanya fight.
Yeah. So they don't really have any options. Could Volk fight against a ranked guy on the
they need Volk back. They need Volk
because I don't think they're going to do Topuria Volk in Australia if they do that rematch.
Do you think that rematch will happen, or
I don't know? To be honest,
I think it's fair on Volk to have that. Obviously, he didn't look great, but it was on short notice, and he'd been on short notice fights for a bit. So I think it was a bit unfair, and he took the fights what the UFC offered him. So I think they owe it to him to maybe give him the rematch as an Australian fan. So
I don't really think like that though. So
I think they do. I think especially Dana. I think he's loyal to guys that are willing to take fights on short notice.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see. It's so funny how he's like, if he hates you if you don't do that, but by doing that, he likes you, and sure, it might give you something, but you ruin your career by doing it. Yeah, it's a sticky one, He just
that's why he loves Conor so much because he's just like, hey, do you want to fight this guy? Yeah, sure, whatever, I'll fight it. But that was a prior Conor. Now Conor obviously is not. Is there a return date that you think will happen for Conor, or do you think he's done for good?
Well, they were saying July, I think, but maybe I think September probably could be maybe the date.
I mean, we were talking about the same thing last year.
Yeah,
same time last year.
Yeah, it's fucked. And we don't even know, John Jones, is he ever coming back? he's probably looking at November, maybe. They're going to England, and Aspinall has to be on the card, really.
Yeah.
Especially if Leon isn't on it. So there's just all a shit show at the moment, really.
Yeah, it is tricky. Well, thanks for listening today, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Obviously, been a bit of a longer one, but I'm glad we had that good NBA chat. We haven't had a good one in a while because it's just been a sort of middle of the road. And the middle of the road kind of the part of the season is just boring for most NBA fans, but we're heating up into the playoffs. We're getting excited. We're getting pumped. So I hope you enjoyed our commentary on that. Obviously, we're very biased when it comes to the NBA because that's our main passion, would you say? Especially when it comes to playoff. But the product has dipped a bit, but that's by the by. Anyway, thanks for listening, and hit that like button, subscribe, and anything else to send us off, buddy?
Yeah, I just want to make a public announcement that Todd Smith is now my most hated referee. Obviously, me and Ashley have had our battles over the years, but now, Ashley, you're well and truly my second most hated. Todd Smith. Good job, mate.
Context, he's a Panthers fan, wasn't happy with the Cola drop ball.
You know, Tommy Talau, the only thing he can catch is Jess Surgis on the rebound. I mean, it's...
You've been thinking about that one for a while, haven't you?
I did think about that.
You're like, fuck, what's that?
But, yeah, the fact that he's blatantly... I mean, we don't have to go into depth. You've seen the video, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You've seen the video. The guy's an idiot. Looks like a guy we went to school with that I'm not going to name. Just because I shouldn't do that, but yeah.
All right, well... I think you just have a bias against... Was he ginger?
He's ginger.
Yeah, I think you just have a bias against that type of people. But anyway, that's by the by. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Obviously, Oscar does not like rugby league refereeing at the moment, but that's okay. And have a great rest of the day if you're on the weekend like us. And hasta la vista. See you later.
Peace out.